56% of women in technology are leaving the companies between the first 10 years. And you can ask yourself, why are those women leaving the companies in this high rate, and specifically in technology? And I can tell you, there is not about lack of balancing family and career.
The stereotype, right?
The major influence on this decision is because of management and because of leadership culture.
What is for you the new face of leadership?
The future of leadership is definitely taking the time for yourself to discover.
Welcome to another episode of Extraordinary Leadership Podcast. My name is Dagmara Asbreuk. I'm your host, founder of Extraordinary Leadership and Transformational Executive Coach. And today in studio with me, I have someone that I know very well, a friend, a person that I had a chance to collaborate with, and a powerhouse and passionate female leader who stands for diversity, for empowering women in tech, and for shaping a new narrative in leadership. Begonia V Merayo, founder of Net4Tech, of Y-Consult, and speaker, trainer, executive coach. And I can't wait to start this conversation about leadership future, about women's role in that place, and of course about her journey, her story, and what shaped her narrative and her leadership. Begonia, so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Dagmara. What a great introduction, and what a great pleasure to be here today, invited to share my experience and our lot of points we really share together, because it is everything about extraordinary leadership. And this is also at the heart of everything I'm doing. So my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. So Begonia, let's unpack your story and tell us more about yourself and, especially what shaped your journey to where you now.
If I take a look at my journey, this is a journey very much influenced by my own passion, vision, ambition, and optimism and inspiration. I was born in Spain, where I grew up, and I had the opportunity to enjoy a fantastic family supporting me on everything I wanted to do. At the age of 4, I was fascinated by my neighbor. She was playing piano. I decided right away that I wanted to play piano as well. My parents, decided to support me, so I started going to classes of playing piano at the age of 5. At the age of 6, I had my first exam in the music school. I did the whole music school up to the level that I officially certified a piano teacher. Another passion that really is anyhow in my red line of my life is this curiosity for other cultures and other languages. And again, this was a great support from my family to enable me to be outside, to go to France and have my maîtrise in Lyon. And this experience over a year, where I did the studies and I also completed with an internship, this was a crucial and a pivotal time in my life, because at that time I decided, okay, I'm going to go for an international career. And international was like, okay, I'm going to be anywhere in another country. I moved to France, and this was the beginning of 20 years international career in big corporates, international companies, where I really had the opportunity to grow as a leader up to C-level and to work internationally in different continents, in different countries, with the focus on driving brands strategically worldwide, and also developing those brands operationally in countries. So at that time, I was working with La Redoute in France, with Otto Versan in Germany. I now moved to Henkel in the professional hairdressing business. And then my last responsibility in the industry, I was the head of the brand Triumph Lingerie worldwide, with the exception of Asia. And this is my DNA, right? My DNA is innovation and is business development, marketing, sales, and is also managing multicultural teams. From that point, I decided to become an entrepreneur. The crucial point was also the beginning of the second step of my business life,
Mm.
where I decided to use this competence in brand management and innovation for people and organizations. And suddenly I was moving from the business part into the HR, people and culture part. So it was
Mm.
an amazing new discovery that I'm supporting as well with certification as a systemic business coach and with an part of master in systemic organizational design, especially to get the tools on how to support the companies from
Mm.
the other side, right? But always having this view of business and innovation. And everything I'm doing today is just putting the people at the center because what I have learned is definitely people are the capital of any organization, and the people working for the organization are going to bring this organization into the future. So
Mm.
the better you take care of your people, the diverse you design your teams, your organization, the better are your chances to succeed in the future, to bring your purpose, your mission, your products in a new era into the future. I started working as an consultant. And at that time, I decided to found to steer Y-Consult, which is a community-driven consultancy. Because to be honest, Dagmara, and you know the same because you also have this previous life in corporate at C level,
Mm.
and you know what does it mean to have a team responsibility. And at that time, I was thinking, I'm gonna work without this direct responsibility in a team. I wanna work building an ecosystem, basing
Mm.
everything I do on collaboration and on partnerships. And this is how I started with Y-Consult. I don't have any employee officially employed under Y-Consult, but we are a huge ecosystem and a global ecosystem, but because as I mentioned before, internationality is a part of my identity
Mhm.
as well. From the experience we have done with Y-Consult, working with the mission to unlock the power of your people in the company, which are the
Mm.
diversity of your company, for organizations, for teams, for talents as a motor, a booster for innovation and growth. And supporting companies since 2011 to recruit, to retain, and to sustainably support your leaders to grow up to the C level. And at the
Mm.
same time, I'm working with the C level as a sparring partner to place this identity, this diversity as part of the identity, as a part of the strategy, and to support the whole organization to drive the cultural shift you need
Mm.
to succeed as a company, to evaluate every single talent and executive working for you, and to really elevate your teams to the high performance level you need for the future, today and tomorrow. Yeah, from that experience, we decided as well to launch the social impact network Net4Tech. This is the network for technology. This is a natural B2C development from our B2B activities in the consultancy because we saw the necessity to support all those talents we learned over the different projects we did and to bring them together as well to make our technology world more diverse because nowadays technology is right in the future and we definitely need all the talents
Mm.
in order to ensure that we are building the future for everyone. And this is Net4Tech, today a community of 2,000 members in our community working internationally and mostly operating locally in the DACH region, which is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. But behaving and having this international thinking that we bring into the perspective and in local reality to support women to succeed in technology and to make sure that we are building the future that represents everyone.
Well, that's a journey. First of all, I didn't know that you have been so early on playing the piano. So there is another common point. Although I didn't reach the stage of being a
Oh,
teacher, but that's what
no!
I did in the childhood.
This is
Oh, we
like
can still in podcast discover something new. That's a nice thing, isn't it?
this is why
Uh,
we like this podcast.
yes, that's how this conversation flows. And I absolutely love, how you mentioned, first of all, what's part of your DNA, what's part that shaped your identity and who you are. What did you find most challenging in those different transitions? Especially, you mentioned the transition, of course, from the corporate world to the entrepreneurship. And before you mentioned about, I think, moving to France, right? So those are all transitions. What did you find the most challenging in those transitions, and maybe what helped you in navigating those transitions?
This is a very good question. And to be honest, one of the biggest transitions I had was becoming a mother. This was
Oh.
really, yeah, a game changer time because I began my children in Germany. And
Mhm.
this was the very first time in my life that I've been discriminated, not being a woman, not being
Mm.
an executive with migrations backgrounds, but because of being a woman, a mother. And this
Mm.
is something that I really was a changing point for me. This is the moment where I decided and I realized what diversity means. Because before, if I'm very honest with you, for me, diversity was like water for the fishes. It was I had a fantastic career over 20
Mm.
years, was moving from A to B to C to D. And for sure, there were a lot of challenges. And I had a lot of successes, but also a lot of low lights. Was not always
Mm. Of course.
easy drive these 20 years in corporate with
Of
all
course.
the challenges we had, and you know that. But if I speak about the first transition point in my life was becoming a mother, doing that in Germany, and realizing that there is not that confidence point that a mother can be so performance as she was
Mm.
before becoming children. And this was a first reaction for me to realize what does it mean diversity and to really start being advocate for balancing women careers and children. And this is why I founded the Working Moms in Munich. And this is in Germany nowadays one of the most influential and impactful professional networks for women working on a high level and being mothers at the same time. And this was very important for me to go into that because there I found my allies. And you've asked as well how could I manage this transition?
Mm. Mm.
And allyship is very important. So this is the moment when I really realized the power of network. This is the moment where being together with like-minded people, sharing the same values, having the same ambition in a complex environment that they are not really very open for these kind of executives, right? Is really giving me not only the empowerment, but also the moment where I can laugh about everything that is not really working properly and where I can really find my middle, right? My point
Mm.
is, again, to keep on going. And at the same time, to support others, to follow the same way. And at the same time, even being political active in order to influence how the law in Germany is evolving, how the infrastructure and supporting for the government enables families to take other kind of decisions, especially for mothers to pursue their ambition in their career. And this was the first one. And the second one is, like you mentioned, becoming an entrepreneur. I think this was
Mm.
also a really game changer time in my life because
Mm.
yeah, I decided to step up from a very, I don't know, I cannot say that this is a very comfort zone, but this was my comfort zone, right? This is
Mhm.
what I
Sure.
knew, what I did the last 20 years. So anyhow, I knew how to deal with those corporates. I had my team, my infrastructure, my system, my budget, my countries, my stakeholders that I needed to report to as well. But stepping up from a company from this industry comfort zone was entering in a new zone where definitely innovation is upfront, right? It's innovating and discovering myself working alone without any infrastructure, without no a clear budget, but with a lot of ideas, with a lot of concepts and formats that I was sure they will really add a value. After that, just having the support as well of the network, right? And
Mm.
supporting me to go into the project, supporting me as well to define and to sharp my concept, my positioning. This is everything reflecting with others where you are and where you want to go and how you get there. I think the most powerful support I had was definitely my mentors, my network, my friends, my sponsors. And I want to say something at the end, but at the very beginning, if I reflect it right, those are the most important one. And this is about my children and my partner, my husband, right? Who
Mm.
are at home and they are supporting me every day in everything I'm doing, right? Even if I mention them at the last.
Yes, I can totally reckon what you're sharing. And I love how you mentioned those two so different challenges. And again, of course, I can find myself in them and probably many of the listeners. And I just want to pause on those two because those two carry so valuable lessons. Having spent also a couple of years or 13 years in Germany, right? In the similar region as you are currently located in Munich, right? I can totally recall what you're talking about this pressure, and it's about not even pressure, but not like, it's like kind of a sticker that now you're a mom and you need to kind of focus on being a mom, right? So you cannot actually focus on something else. This limitation that exists in many places of the world, right? So wonderful that you turned the example you gave is a beautiful example of turning the challenge into the gift and opportunity. You created a network of support. And through that, of course, not only that has been a supporting part for you, but you supported others. So you've been inspiration as well of others. That's a beautiful, example of how those challenging moments or things that we are confronted with, we can actually turn into such a great causes. And I guess those listening today and living maybe in Munich will be interested to check if that network still, I think the network still proceeds, right? So I was wondering, where do you see the biggest challenges that organizations face into diversifying or bringing innovative solutions or diversifying their workforce and bringing more women, especially in tech environment, a very male dominated space, right? So where do you see the biggest challenges for female leaders, right? As well as for companies?
They are most of them, and they are really struggling because if you really want to start attracting talents with a kind of profile, they don't represent your own identity right now. Means that you need to review your complete recruiting process and the way you are communicating, the way you are presenting yourself as well, right? So that you can be recognized as an employer who will be attractive for me as a woman. And this is also the very beginning when I am starting working with my clients is to challenge the purpose and the intention. Where is this coming from? And how relevant it is for them. What are the motivations? How do they establish that in the strategy? How is their willingness to review the recruiting processes and to start change process between the company that really put those topics in the agenda in a regular base, right?
Mhm.
And it starts everything asking yourself the question who I am as an organization today and who I would like to be tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And there is not about that maybe an organization is now focusing on all the different diversity aspects you can imagine. Maybe they want to start with a certain pattern or a certain profile they definitely would like to integrate into the organization. It can be to tackle the topics of gender, to tackle the topics of age, to tackle the topics of internationalization, of migration, because those are the most of important topics that you see represented in the society. I think you see represented in your customers as well as company, and you see as well represented in the universities and in the talents you want to approach. But at the end of the day, there is not about which is the area of diversity I want to focus on. It's more about the people I want to attract,
Yes.
the competencies, the skills,
Hmm.
the openness. right? And when I see the skills, could be as well, what are the languages they speak? What are the markets they understand? What are the customers they know? What are the leadership competencies they have? If you take a look at the future skills, okay, this is the word for the skills, future skills. They are already today
Yes,
a
yes.
necessity,
And they
right?
are
But
evolving all the time.
if you focus on the most important skills we
Yeah.
need in the digital area in our world today, we speak about collaboration, we speak about empathy, we speak
Mm.
about growth mindset as well. We speak about communication skills. So at least you have already four that we women, if you want to speak about the stereotypes like you did it before, that we tend to put the people in a kind of you can do that and you cannot do that, then you recognize that you definitely have that, right? And this is not about, as I said, looking for talents that they have a cultural fit with the company. I always said they need to be aligned with your values and your leadership principles. And at the same time, it will be great that they enlarge your culture. They bring something that really allows you to grow as an organization, as a team. And with this kind of mindset, we review their recruiting process. We start positioning the company in the direction that the company wants to be.
Mm.
And we start being visible in the networks and the environments where you can find those talents you want to attract for your organization.
Mm.
With the competencies, the hard competencies, there is not about, and I know, Dagmara, nowadays we speak, and it's always a topic, meritocracy, right? We always want to have the best talent, and
Yeah.
we only want to prize the best talent. We don't want to put anyone before the other. We don't want to discriminate anyone. But at the same time, if you don't put all those competencies and all those ambitions very clearly in your strategy, you will always miss maybe a woman, maybe a foreigner, maybe an older person. They will not really go through your standard process because you have these kind of stereotypes already in your workforce today. So therefore, the first thing is really to define your intention, your ambition, your strategy, and then going into action, taking a look at all the touch points in the recruiting process in order to make it possible for the different talents, for the diverse talents, just to go from one step to the other one and not to fall in very classical in the interviews with the experts department, where if you start working with engineers and you present your women engineers, and I have a lot of examples, suddenly they don't have the competencies and you don't know why. So you really need to take a look and be very attentive on the unconscious bias of the blind spots. And as an organization, you definitely need to have the courage to scale if you see some kind of behavior that is
Mm.
repeating and repeating again and is focusing in that one part. This is my experience, right? And this is human. We all have unconscious bias. But
Yeah.
as a company, if you really want to go there, you need to take the responsibility and to tackle and to scale when you see an issue that you want to solve, that you want to evolve, you want to grow, so that you don't lose the efforts you are doing and the resources you are putting in to recruit and to attract more diverse talents. In that case, women. And you asked me as well, why women? And for me, being an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, what can I do? I can do everything where I can be a good one. And everything I can do in a very good manner is everything that is related to myself and who I am. I am a woman. I am a mother. I am over 50. I am an executive with international background. So I'm really tackling all these intersectionality perspectives with a focus of gender, because this is like, anyhow where I'm coming from and who I am. But at the end of the day, all those experience you can transport for the whole workforce, because at the end of the day, there is not about bringing women, it's about bringing all the employees into the future together. And it's not generating a new silo into the company with all those women think,
Hmm.
that is bringing everyone together into the future, recognizing the power of the different people working together and recognizing the value for the organization, right?
Yeah.
And yes, it takes time. Yes, it's not so easy, but at the end of the day, it pays for, right?
So I'm hearing a lot of intentionality in this process, right? And it starts with the end goal in mind and connecting with the business goals, because at the end is a business direction, business objectives that is at the cornerstone here driving the strategy. And strategy is bringing, for example, diverse workforce, right? Or changing something in a way of operation. So what is the role then in this process that you just described with talent attractions, with visibility as well, and integration? What is the role that you, with your different ventures, are playing there? Are you then able to support organizations in all of these different steps?
Yeah, we started with recruiting. From
Hmm.
the recruiting experience, very much focused on international talents for Germany. We moved into the organizational design because at the beginning it was very much focused on, okay, bringing the talents and understanding everything from the talent side and supporting the companies. But at the end of the day, there is not about fixing the woman. It's not about fixing the talent. It's also fixing the organization, right? And this is where I continue my journey, focusing as well in the organization and supporting the organization to really grow in this journey. And today, if we take into consideration with the pandemic time, recruiting was like cut it totally. We didn't have any recruiting activities at all. So we were really focusing on supporting the companies to support their own talents. And my learning nowadays, and I also know speaking about that with my clients, because I think this makes that very, very easy to understand. Recruiting is like going for shopping, right? You can have a very clear understanding. You need a bag, a new bag, and depending on your budget, you can buy a Louis Vuitton or you can buy a Zara bag. You know, it's like, but you can always buy the bag. You will always find the bag you are looking for. Once you have your bag, you're wearing it, you're presenting it, you're using it, it's great. But anywhere and anyhow, your bag is going to stay in your pocket, right? It's going to stay in a corner.
Hmm.
Yeah. And maybe it's another bag coming and another thing. And then you forget a little bit your bag. And it's the same with the talents. You put a lot of effort in the recruiting. It's everything like
Mm.
an amazing journey, all the process coming together, the onboarding, and then you are there, you're delivering. It's like, okay, you do your job. And then it's the question, okay, what
How do
is
we
going
support further, right? How do you nurture?
yeah,
Yeah.
how do you nurture your
And
talents?
integrate and
And a lot of
integrate as well.
companies they think, okay, we need to keep on recruiting and recruiting and recruiting. And at the
Hmm.
same time, you have another reality. So you have the talents in your company, and
Mm.
how do you take care of those? How do you nurture your talents? How do you make sure that they are growing? That you as
Yeah.
organization are organically growing, right? With the power you already have, your people. And this is also a fascinating point that we are very much focusing since the pandemic time, because at the end of the day, if you take a look at their facts, 56% of women in technology are leaving the companies between the first 10 years. And
Hmm.
this hurts the people because those women are leaving the companies. And this is a pain for the companies as well because you
Mm.
already invested a lot of money. And you can ask yourself, why are those women
Yeah,
leaving the companies in this
directly.
high rate, right? And
Hmm.
specifically in technology. And I can tell you, there is not about lack of balancing family and career.
The
You could
stereotype, right?
you could think hard.
Ah.
For sure, you have also systemic and structural topics that play a
Yeah.
role, but the major influence of this on this decision is because of management and
Mm.
because of leadership culture.
Mm.
Those are the most important topics.
Yeah.
And this is why we launched the movement of the new phase of leadership, because it's everything about leadership. At the end of the day,
Mm.
you could solve all your open questions. You could bring your organization into the most brilliant future and have a fantastic team dynamics if you really work on leadership. And this is about leading myself, leading
Mm.
my team, leading my organization. So
Yeah.
these three
Agree.
levels. And this you know as well very well.
Yes.
Dagmara, because it's your focus with extraordinary leadership. And this is how we are also coming together with the new phase of leadership. This is how we are now really supporting companies and supporting leaders, because it's a system. We are all in the same system. You always need to bring the people who is suffering, or in this journey, you need to bring that front, to have a very clear dialogue, open dialogue, to learn from them, to
Yeah,
provide feedback, and to develop a kind of a space where you have this trust, this confidence. And you can only build trust if you have a psychological safety environment
absolutely.
where everyone feels welcome and feels so sure that I am able to share my thoughts, right? And I'm able to bring my ideas into it. Even if everyone is saying the complete opposite thing, right?
Yes,
I feel so confident that I think my ideas are valuable for this decision. So let's speak about that. This is the reality I'm now really bringing up front on everything we are doing. So we are offering trainings, leadership journeys, because there is not about one training, there is not about one event, there is about a journey. Cultural shift is something that you can manage if you committed to drive over years in a continuous way,
absolutely.
and you create the space and you provide the resources in time and money as well to drive those kind of discussions, and then you support the talents with the right trainings and formats, and mentoring programs or sponsoring programs as well,
Hmm.
and you support the whole organization with events, with programs where everyone is invited, with you speak of the year, what is happening about your values, about your principles, and this is coming into life. They are not only written in a presentation or in a word in a
But
website, but they are really playing a role for every decision you are taking, and you can reflect that as well in your team,
yeah,
and in they're playing a role in everything you are doing, right?
yes. So I see it as beautiful ecosystem, right? And it like there is like something on the forefront, right? Of how do we actually bring the talents that we need, and then is of course how do we succeed together. I think that's the thing that comes to me because absolutely, of course, leadership is impacting the most culture. Let's be very honest. It's culture is driven in leadership, and the higher you go in organization, the more that becomes even relevant. And I mean, every level of leadership, every leader needs to feel that understanding of the impact that it makes. And I can reckon the stories that you say. It's not enough to bring talented people, but how do we make them stay? And even there is, I think, a famous quote about it. And it's not only about investing in training them and developing them and sending to millions of courses, online courses and trainings and programs. You can do that only, and that will only work if you as a leader are growing as well, because you need to evolve. As you mentioned before, when you lead change in your business, culture change or strategic change, and that might end up with changing a process, bringing new people and bringing new digital solutions, that's just a new normal for us now, right? You cannot, as a leader, stay operating in the same inner system, right? The same mindset, the same identity, the same way of communicating or emotional intelligence. All of these parts are super critical in your leadership success, and they need to evolve. So that is important part, and that part also you support there. And I'm happy that you bring it because that's kind of the cycle. That's kind of what makes it systemic, right? Working together from
Exactly.
bottom up and from top down, and that both needs to actually be in congruence. Yeah.
This is fascinating. This is a kind of the other focus. You need to put it in your business. And I like it because that there is this game changers, or the best CEO game changers study. And if you take a look what is the real skill or the real capability that those CEOs have, that differentiate from others, is that they are spending a lot of time acting and speaking and getting feedback from the employees.
Mm.
This is about going outside, visiting your people, and not only your peers or your direct reports, right? It's also understanding what is behind your direct report. And depending on the size of the company, for sure, if you have 70,000 employees, it's also checking what is going on in the different countries and what is on with different and key people in your organization, independently on the level of hierarchy you have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and this is what makes a difference. And this is
And
what
this is
people.
act of vulnerability as well, right? And psychological safety is like when you as a leader ask for feedback, you also show you care. You also show you want to grow. And you also, of course, learn quite a lot from that. So I think that is this learning. You stay in learning and stay in growing, actually, not only learning, but growing yourself. And then you can adjust as well. Begonia, I know that we can go on and go on about these topics because they are passionate. And I do have one important question. What is for you the new face of leadership?
This is a fantastic question. Therefore, we are running this global movement, including different perspectives from around the world, speaking with very diverse leaders in age, in origin, in gender, in background. So we invite a lot of different people to come together and to reflect with best practices and very clear examples. What does it mean leadership, and how can I lead myself and my team and my organization? And I think the future of leadership is definitely taking the time for yourself to discover who I am as a leader.
Mm,
Is being very much connected with myself first, and discovering this very unique place where you can really make an impact with everything you do. And this very
mm,
unique place name is authenticity. And
mm,
that is also being open and willing to do this inner journey to discover what are my weaknesses, what are my strengths, and which is my ambition, my vision, and what are my added value for everything I'm gonna do. And this is very, I would say that you need courage to do this kind of inner job and to go
mm.
through your inner journey. And this is a never ending story as well, because we change over the different phases of life. Like we mentioned before, it's not the same when you are in your 20s, or you have no children, or you have other responsibilities. It can be that we are going to have the responsibilities of our parents as well, having an influence as well on the kind of leader I'm going to be
Mm,
and on the kind of decisions I take. And the new phase of leadership is knowing who you are and having this empathic, collaborative, and also communicative style that you need. Is the question how you support your team to grow. And this is also how do you create this psychological safety? How do you create a space for everyone to speak up, to give feedback? How do you treat the feedback? How do you bring
mm.
those feedback at the table that represents and shows the rest of the team that what you are doing has a meaning and
Yes.
is also a power for the future? And then if you take the next level of your organization is being very clear about your vision, your purpose, your values, your identity, your strategy, and have the power to really invite everyone to be part of and to bring the resources on this topic of how to create a space for everyone to grow, how to define the role of technology
Mm,
into my strategy and into the development of my organization, how to break the silos into the different departments, how to design the future together. So this is about collaboration, but not only collaboration outside the company, but inside.
inside. Yeah.
It's not taking a look and considering clients upfront,
Mm,
who are my clients outside the company. Is taking a look at my people as the most important capital and even my own clients inside. And then you can adjust and take, okay, definitely we need to have the technology and the tech skills to
absolutely.
drive the future. We have the hardcore skills you need to drive the different jobs in the different
Yes.
levels. It doesn't matter if there is finance or business or sales or marketing, whatever you want. But at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, is creating a team, is creating an organization with a face And therefore, this new phase of leadership, because the phase is driving the company in the future, are not the same they did it 20 or 30 years ago.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is the keyword that came to me is obviously intentionality, starting with end goal in mind, and you mentioned the thing connect with who you are. What makes you you, what's your unique, what's your authentic gifts actually, and lens and impact that you can make. So that intentionality has a power. What I've heard is, of course, authenticity is very important for building the psychological safety, that you mentioned many times, right? Because if we cannot show up our full self as leaders, we cannot create that environment and expect from others to do the same. The third thing I've heard, what I would call, it's human centric, right? So you mentioned many times business is people, right? In my own words, right? That's what transpired from what you're sharing. And so again, creating a space, creating a culture, right? The people can thrive is super important. That's human centric, understanding what makes them, what do they need actually, right? And nurturing them, as you mentioned, right? Not only hiring the best talents, but also nurturing and helping them to grow. And that will brings me to the last one, which is unleashing human potential. That's what I very, very much reckon with all of those four keywords, because that's what leadership at the end is about, is how can we unleash potential of the most important asset in our organization. And that is a capability as well of a leader, and that where different type of approach comes into moving from being an expert to being a partner, moving from just training to asking powerful questions and asking for feedback, as you said, right? Those different parameters. So thank you very much for sharing how, yeah, what is a forefront of phase of leader, a new phase of leadership that you're driving. And of course, just looking back on our conversation, so much wisdom, in terms of talent management in general. And I think a lot of people will be interested to hear that, because what I'm taking away is how structured this process needs to be, how intentional this process needs to be. And I think a reminder of, how important is the visibility and identity of the organization to attract the right talents. That's one thing. But on the other hand, how important is that all integration and co-creative, collaborative development together, where all those beautiful leadership skills and a new phase of leadership and type of leadership that we need is fuel actually too. So thank you very much for sharing that wisdom and expertise coming from you, and and sharing yourself here, and walking us through your journey today. What are you taking away for yourself from this experience maybe, and what do you want to leave our listeners with as a last message?
I think for everyone who is listening today, what I would like to motivate them or to inspire them to go is really to go into this fascinating journey, to be honest with yourself, to discover which kind of leader I am, right? It's the most fascinating thing. And to really take the time to reflect on where I am today. I am there where I am, where I would like to be, or if I take a look at the situation today, it doesn't matter which kind of situation it is, to project where I would like to go. I know this is not a very easy way to define where I'm gonna go. The first thing that you know is where you don't want to go. So start from
Absolutely.
that, from the negation, right? Start from that and take your time for dreaming. I think the most important thing is that to create these kind of spaces where I can really think about nothing but just being bored, think about what if. And for everyone who is maybe a little bit thinking or just having this open question, yeah, but I would like to have a guideline or I don't know how to, I always say, take a look at the INA Development Goals Framework. I work with that a lot. And you have here a fantastic framework with different skills and a way of working yourself with your team and your organization and how to deal with the complexity of our world today. And I know there is not easy with everything that's happening today with the geopolitical situation we have. And therefore it's important to keep focus and to employ your limited resources in something that is really generating value for yourself, for your team, for your organization. So I think this will be my call to action for everyone who is listening who is listening us today to take contact with me. If they want to have more information about the inner development goals, I think we can put it as well in the comments, the links, because there are a lot of information about, and this everything about what we have discussed before. And yeah, and my wish for today for sure is let's build in this global ecosystem that help us and support us to grow together, because this is a fascinating journey. It's not an easy journey, and the best information is that you're not alone. So you don't need to do that alone. You always have your allies, your mentors, your coaches, your sponsors, and your family and friends, your best friend, your best fans.
Yes, yes. And you need to choose who you want to have in that ecosystem, who you want to be. And that's true. And I think I agree. I think don't wait too long for ask for being supported, because this journey can be very lonely and the challenges are big, right? Either as an individual or as a leader of a whole company. So thank you very much, Begonia, for this message, for this time together. We will put all those links as well as, of course, link to your LinkedIn so people know how to find you easily. And thank you for sharing this time and, of course, co creating this space together. And see you.